a proud country. There
Yes.
may be internal issues, but does this region need foreign powers to have a constant presence / involvement in the local affairs of these regions?
Unfortunately, the region has failed to provide for itself in terms of security and the clarity of fight against extremism and terrorism. The region has provided reasons for America and NATO to come to this region. We are blamed too for what is happening in this region.
Yes.
Now, who has done what is something that we should leave for another occasion. But clearly, this region has brought the trouble that pains us so much upon ourselves.
Have these troops brought peace?
No, they have not. And that's the contention that we have with the United States. They've not brought security to Afghan lives. They have rather caused, on occasion, serious pain to the Afghan people. But the broader picture of stability in Afghanistan and the broader picture of stability in this region is something that the presence of United States and NATO has helped bring about. In a broader sense, in the macro picture of things, they have delivered better. Within Afghanistan, we have issues with them. Whether Afghanistan needs a U.S. presence beyond 2014 and in the format that we are talking to the United States about is in the positive. Yes, we do need that presence. In what form, we'll find out. And under which conditions? We have already set some of the conditions in the strategic partnership agreement.
Yes.
Other conditions will be put in the bilateral security agreement.
Would you, in your view, President Karzai, would America want Afghanistan to be truly in control of its own security, or would it want always Afghanistan to be dependent on an American presence?
Any big country would not want a small country like us to be totally on its own and providing for itself while they are still here in Afghanistan.
What would you do to resist it?
But we don't have an option there, and they don't have an option there. We want the full control of our destiny and our forces and the delivery of security to the Afghan people. Yes. They want to be here to fight terrorism and to provide training to the Afghan people, so they are protected back in their own country.
Yes.
So that imperative must bring them to recognize that Afghanistan needs to be supported in a manner that it becomes self-sufficient.
Truly. But it's been 11 years, President Karzai. $1.3 trillion have been spent. 13,000 Afghan citizens have died. It's been a long and arduous war.
Yes.
My question to you at a broader perspective is, do you think now the region and leaders like yourself need to look at a future in which these foreign powers need not force a stake in the region?
Well, in the long term, they will not be here. And they should not be here. And in the long term, it's this region, countries like India, Pakistan including, China and others and us, to work together. For as long as we are bickering among ourselves, for as long as we block one another from progress, for as long as there is lack of friendship, and I'm trying to be euphemistic here when I say lack of friendship. For as long as there is lack of friendship, we are bound to have the presence of others. So this is a very noble cause for this region. Who should take us to this, to the realization of this noble cause? It's us, the current generation of leaders. Are we working in that direction? Very slowly, hesitantly. Do we need speed and firm footing? Yes.
Do you actually see India, Pakistan and Afghanistan work together on a regional bloc? In
be,
your view, is it possible, conceivable
absolutely,
at all?
Very desirable. That would be a great day for us if India and Afghanistan and Pakistan could work together, including Bangladesh, including Sri Lanka, including other countries in this region, including Central Asians.
But there is such deep distrust, President Karzai. How is that possible?
Distrust has to go with. The distrust among us is the legacy of a colonial rule.
Yes, there is.
In that colonial rule, we all recognize that play divisively among us. So should we fall prey to the divide and rule forever, or should we be wise enough to emerge out of it? And that is what I'm seeking, and I hope we will emerge out of it.
President Karzai, I sense, and you are a very, very experienced world statesman, but I do sense today, since the last time that we met in 2007, a slight, if I may say so, if you don't mind, a slight change of perspective. In 2007, you were more, if I were aggressive vis-a-vis Pakistan. I remember you had said Pakistan is not fooling enough if it comes to interfering in our country. In 2008, you said, if required, I'll send troops across the border to Pakistan to confront militants based there. Do you believe also, President Karzai, that in recent years that your own position on the region, on Afghanistan, Pakistan and India has mellowed a bit?
The basic has not changed.
Basic hasn't changed.
The basic hasn't changed. But the approach, when I say the basic, I mean the problem.
Yes.
The problem hasn't changed. But the approach to finding a resolution to this problem has changed. Because we see that Pakistan is suffering as well.
Yes.
Now, if there are terrorists blowing bombs in Pakistan, definitely the Pakistani people and the state machinery doesn't want that to happen in Pakistan.
Yes.
So definitely they must also be thinking of a way out of this. And here is an opening for us. And this opening brings me to a different approach towards our problems. That approach is cooperative rather than confrontation.
October 22nd, 2011, you said, and I know that your office later clarified that there had been a misinterpretation of this comment, but a lot of people in India were a bit alarmed by what you said. In Pakistan, you said, God forbid, if at any time there is a war between Pakistan and America, then we will be with Pakistan. Asked specifically if Afghanistan would back Pakistan if it was attacked by India, Karzai replied, it's an interview to Geo News, that anybody that attacks Pakistan, Afghanistan will stand with Pakistan.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of people were alarmed in India with what you said.
Well, they shouldn't be alarmed in India. When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan opened its doors to Afghanistan, to, millions of Afghan refugees. 5 million of our people were refugees in Pakistan, and with tremendous hospitality, with open arms. We would be very ungrateful people if we forgot that. Just like we are indebted and grateful to India for the help it has given us, then and today. We cannot be forgetful or ungrateful to Pakistan for the problem that today we have with Pakistan. We are separating those two issues. We are grateful to Pakistan for the way it opened its arms and welcomed us in their homes, in their country for 2 or 3 decades. But we are also clearly talking to Pakistan about the problems that we have, the problem extremism and terrorism, and we are asking them to work together with us to eliminate them. So Afghanistan morally is bound to having friendship with Pakistan, and God forbid, if Pakistan falls in a situation like Afghanistan was, our doors, our territory will be open to our Pakistani brothers and sisters to come and seek shelter in Afghanistan or by any other means. That's what I meant.
2 quick questions. If Imran Khan becomes Prime Minister of Pakistan, he'll be a Prime Minister who says that I will not allow any drone attacks on my soil. Strategically, in the context of what you said, that will not work for your interests, because American information is that 70%, 80% of the people killed in drone attacks are terrorists. They would have targeted Afghanistan. Where would you stand on drone attacks?
I don't agree
in
with
Pakistani soil?
I don't agree with drone attacks.
You don't?
No, I don't agree with them at all. There are lots of civilian people losing life and suffering in the consequence of that. When I say go to the sanctuaries, that's exactly what I'm working against. Sanctuary means where they're trained. Sanctuary means where they're financed. Sanctuary means where the motivational factors are there. It means
but that is in Pakistan.
The thinking. Well, address that if it is in Pakistan. Address that rather than attacking villages by drones. Drone attacks will never end terrorism. It has to be tried. The roots have to be taken out. And that cannot be done without a clear, visible strategy addressing the problem down deep where the roots are. And there, the involvement of the Pakistani state with us is vital and important. There's a history to extremism. There's a history to terrorism. Somehow it came about. It's a long story. We can't go into that now. But that has to be addressed. Therefore, drones and attack on individual targets is not the solution. But a more dedicated approach is required, and that dedicated approach is an issue that I've spoken about.
Well, that's fantastic. President Karzai, when we last spoke, I asked you how the security detail around you changes your life.
Mm-hmm.
At a more personal level now,
Mm-hmm.
I have two personal questions to wrap this up. The general view has been that when President Karzai took charge in his early 40s, many people felt that he would be the voice of the West in Afghanistan. And as the years progressed, they realized that he's a hard nut to crack. He's not as predictable as we thought. Sometimes he can be difficult. They said, like the Afghan people are difficult, President Karzai can also be difficult. Do you believe that the West is increasingly finding you a difficult customer to deal with?
I'm not a difficult person. I'm a very soft person to deal with. But to deal on which issues? With regard to what? I have to defend certain principles. Those principles are basically human. And they apply closer to home in Afghanistan. I would be as much pained if an Indian suffered in the manner the Afghans are suffering. And I mentioned earlier that I changed my approach to Pakistan when I saw that Pakistan was suffering as well. There are people too there. So I'm speaking my mind, or being critical, not in order to criticize or to oppose, but to defend a right and to correct a wrong. Not to oppose anybody, not to criticize anybody, but to come to a solution of the problems that we have. And I don't think the way we are conducting this business of the war on terror, we will reach the conclusion successfully of our difficulties.
Finally, you're still very young, at least by the standards of Indian politicians, and you're too experienced to walk away into the sunset 2 years from now when your second term ends. Do you see yourself doing that? Somehow I don't see you walking away.
I definitely want to have an election in Afghanistan. Afghanistan must have a new president. A fresh mind must come. I think I've done my time in Afghanistan. I think I've delivered what I could to the Afghan people, and by extension also to this region. I wish when a few years from now the world is round, we come across again somewhere, that we will have a friendlier region, a more open region, a more civilized relationship in this region rather than the current lack of friendship. So there will be an election in Afghanistan. Afghanistan will have a new president, and I will be a citizen of Afghanistan and of this region.
Well, you'd certainly make a great ambassador for the region on the global stage. Thank you very much,
Sir.
President Karzai. It's a pleasure to meet you again.
Great
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank
Great
you.
pleasure.
Tell us what you think of this episode of Frankly Speaking with Hamid Karzai. Send in your views and suggestions to this Twitter handle.